Welcome to Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go. This audio uses AI narration to present our original book analysis. Today, we're diving into Richard K. Morgan's Altered Carbon, a cyberpunk thriller set in a future where human consciousness is digitized and transferable into new bodies called sleeves.
Sleeves.
It's a world brimming with virtual immortality, but that doesn't mean it's a utopia.
Yeah.
Our mission, well, to unravel a complex murder alongside Takeshi Kovacs, the protagonist, and explore how this technology warps identity, morality, and life itself.
It's fascinating how Morgan blends hard-boiled detective fiction with this mind-bending premise. Takeshi, a former envoy, an elite soldier with enhanced capabilities, is resurrected centuries after his death to solve a seemingly impossible case.
Yeah, the case itself is a doozy. We're talking about the apparent suicide of Lawrence Bancroft, a meth, someone who has lived for centuries thanks to this technology. But something's not right. And Bancroft himself hired Takeshi because he doesn't believe he took his own life.
The key to understanding this world is the concept of stacks. Imagine a small device implanted at the base of the skull, holding a person's entire consciousness, their memories, their very being. That's a stack. When someone dies, their stack can be re-sleeved into a new body, essentially granting immortality to those who can afford it.
Which brings us to the stark societal divide. This technology is primarily accessible to the ultra-wealthy, creating a class system where the rich can live forever, indulging in whatever their heart desires. But for everyone else, death is still a very real and permanent thing.
The implications are staggering. What happens to your sense of self when you can change bodies like clothes? Does death have any meaning? These are age-old questions that Morgan explores with chilling realism.
And then there's Takeshi's background. As an envoy, these soldiers are trained to be adaptable, ruthless, and incredibly skilled. They're almost like human weapons, designed for interstellar warfare and rapid acclimatization to any environment.
Takeshi's past as an envoy makes him the perfect outsider to navigate Bay City, the sprawling, futuristic metropolis where the story takes place. He's not bound by the same social conventions or moral constraints, which allows him to delve into the city's underbelly, uncovering secrets that others would rather keep hidden.
And those secrets run deep. As Takeshi starts his investigation, he encounters a cast of characters that are just as complex and morally ambiguous as the world they inhabit. There's Kristen Ortega, the tough-as-nails police lieutenant, who's suspicious of Takeshi from the start.
And then there's the enigmatic Miriam Bancroft, Lauren's wife. She's a woman shrouded in mystery, someone who has lived for centuries alongside her husband. But her true motives remain unclear. Is she grieving? Or is there something more to her demeanor?
We also can't forget about the AI hotel, Hendrix. This is your typical AI, though. Hendrix is intelligent, intuitive, and almost unsettlingly human in his interactions with Takeshi. He becomes a crucial ally, providing information and insights that prove invaluable to the investigation.
But one of the most intriguing characters is Raylene Kawahara, Takeshi's own sister. She's a powerful and ruthless crime lord who has embraced the dark side of this technologically advanced world. Their reunion is fraught with tension and reveals a shared past, filled with trauma and betrayal.
As Takeshi pieces together the puzzle, he realizes that Bancroft wasn't just a wealthy meth. With a penchant for self-destruction, he was involved in something much bigger, something that reaches the highest echelons of power and threatens to expose the dark underbelly of this seemingly utopian society.
His investigation leads him to Head in the Clouds, a virtual reality haven where the wealthy indulge in their wildest fantasies, a place where the lines between reality and simulation blur, and where the consequences of your actions can be easily erased.
But Head in the Clouds is more than just a playground for the elite. It's a place where secrets are kept, where power is brokered, and where Bancroft was engaging in activities that could have devastating consequences if exposed.
And as Takeshi delves deeper, he uncovers a conspiracy that reaches far beyond the confines of Bay City. It involves a controversial UN resolution, shadowy corporate interests, and a group of meths who have grown bored with their endless lives and seek increasingly extreme experiences, no matter the cost.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Altered Carbon. Last time, we left Takeshi Kovacs on the verge of uncovering a conspiracy that intertwines with the virtual playground of Head in the Clouds and a shadowy UN resolution.
Right. And as Takeshi infiltrates this digital haven for the ultra-wealthy, it becomes clear that Bancroft wasn't just seeking pleasure in the virtual realm. He was involved in some deeply disturbing activities, things that someone was willing to kill, to keep hidden.
Head in the Clouds blurs the lines between reality and simulation because stacks can be copied within the virtual environment. These copies can be manipulated, even tortured. without any lasting damage to the original.
That's terrifying. Committing horrific acts in virtual reality with no real-world consequences. What happens to morality in a world where such actions are possible? It's a question that Morgan forces us to confront, and it becomes even more unsettling when you factor in the power dynamics. Bancroft, with his immense wealth and influence, could exploit those with less power, pushing them into virtual scenarios they'd never consent to in the real world.
And if that wasn't enough, Takeshi discovers that his own sister, Raylene Kawahara, is the mastermind behind Head in the Clouds. Family betrayal on a whole new level.
This revelation forces Takeshi to confront their shared past, a past marked by violence and abandonment. It's a crucial turning point, revealing the depths of Kawahara's ambition and the complex, often toxic, bond between siblings.
So, we have a powerful meth, indulging in twisted virtual fantasies, and his ruthless crime lord sister controlling this digital realm. Where does the murder mystery fit into all of this?
Well, Takeshi uncovers evidence that Bancroft was being blackmailed. Someone threatened to expose his virtual transgressions unless he used his influence to block the UN resolution. And that resolution, it was designed to regulate the very activities taking place within Head in the Clouds.
So, it was a power play with extremely high stakes. The blackmailer knew Bancroft's reputation would be destroyed if his virtual sins came to light.
Precisely. But here's the real shocker. The blackmailer was Bancroft's own wife, Miriam.
Whoa, why go to such lengths? To frame it as a suicide, though.
Because Miriam is playing a long game. She understood that a messy murder would lead to investigations, potentially exposing her own involvement, but by making it look like suicide, she could subtly direct suspicion toward Bancroft's enemies, protecting herself.
So, it was all a carefully constructed plan to take down Bancroft and his legacy. But what does she gain from all of this?
Remember, she's lived for centuries alongside Bancroft. It's safe to assume she witnessed his descent into depravity, his cruelty. This was her chance for revenge, a chance to reclaim her own agency in a world where her husband held all the cards.
And how does Takeshi fit into her grand scheme?
Miriam didn't just set the stage. She ensured that Takeshi specifically was brought in to investigate. She knew his reputation as a relentless envoy, someone who wouldn't be deterred by power or wealth.
She wanted someone who would dig deep, uncover the truth, and expose Bancroft's crimes.
Yes. It's a testament to her cunning, her understanding of human nature, and the ways in which technology can be used to manipulate events. She's a character who challenges our preconceived notions of power and control.
And let's not forget about Takeshi's relationship with Kristen Ortega, the police lieutenant. It's not just a romantic subplot. Their interactions highlight the clash between old-world values and this technologically advanced society.
Ortega, despite her cynical exterior, believes in justice, holding people accountable. Takeshi, however, is more pragmatic. He understands the way power works in this world, but he's also haunted by his past violence and seeks redemption.
Right, their dynamic is fascinating, full of tension, and a growing understanding of each other's perspectives.
And to complicate matters further, there's a rogue AI named Cadman who wants to kill Takeshi. It's a thrilling subplot that raises questions about the unpredictability of AI and the potential consequences of creating sentient machines.
Cadman is a perfect example of how, even in this advanced society, technology can become a double-edged sword. It can offer incredible possibilities, but it can also spiral out of control, becoming a threat rather than a tool. But I guess that's a conversation for another time.
Indeed. As we wrap up part 2, it's clear that Altered Carbon is far more than a simple whodunit. It delves into the very core of humanity, exploring what it means to live, die, and exist in a world where technology blurs the boundaries of reality.
It challenges our assumptions about identity, morality, and the consequences of unchecked power. And in the final part of our deep dive, we'll witness the ultimate showdown, the clash between Takeshi and Kawahara as they fight for control, for justice, and for their own warped sense of love and loyalty. Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into Altered Carbon. We left off with Takeshi, battered but determined, on a collision course with his sister, Raylene Kawahara. He's ready to expose her, bring down her empire, and maybe find some semblance of justice for all the pain she's caused.
But remember, Kawahara isn't some petty criminal. She's a force of nature, a master manipulator who built her power. In a world that thrives on ruthlessness, taking her down is no easy feat.
True, but Takeshi has a few advantages. He knows her better than anyone, understands her tactics, and he's fueled by a burning desire for justice, not just for Bancroft, but for all the victims caught in her web of manipulation.
And he's not alone. Kristen Ortega, now fully aware of the corruption and Kawahara's role in it, has joined his side. She's willing to risk everything to see Kawahara brought to justice.
So how does this final showdown play out?
Takeshi, with Ortega and a handful of loyal allies, infiltrates Kawahara's headquarters, a heavily fortified flying fortress disguised as a luxury airship. Morgan doesn't hold back on the action here. The infiltration is tense, a race against time with laser grids, drones, and heavily armed guards.
It sounds like something straight out of a cyberpunk action film, but I imagine the stakes are higher than just taking down a villain.
Absolutely. As they fight their way through Kawahara's defenses, Takeshi faces a moral dilemma. Innocent people are caught in the crossfire, forcing him to confront how far he's willing to go, how much collateral damage is acceptable in his pursuit of justice.
That adds a layer of complexity to his character. He's not just a revenge-driven machine. He's grappling with his conscience, trying to balance vengeance with protecting the innocent. It makes him far more human, relatable.
Exactly. And this internal struggle reaches its peak. During the confrontation with Kawahara, it's a brutal, explosive battle, not just for survival, but for the very soul of Bay City. It's a fight against corruption and the abuse of power in a world where technology has amplified those issues tenfold.
It's more than just a personal vendetta for Takeshi. He's fighting for something bigger.
Yes, and this is where his envoy training, his strategic mind, and adaptability truly shine. He's up against Kawahara's enhanced soldiers, even genetically modified creatures, but he manages to outmaneuver them, pushing forward against seemingly insurmountable odds.
But Kawahara isn't easily defeated. She's prepared. She knows Takeshi's tactics, his weaknesses. I imagine their shared history makes the stakes even higher.
You're right. She anticipates his moves, lays a trap, designed to exploit his emotional vulnerabilities, his need to protect those he cares about. For a while, it seems like she might escape, her crimes unpunished. Then comes the twist.
A twist. Don't leave us hanging.
It's a revelation that reframes everything, forcing us to reevaluate the characters and their motivations. I won't spoil it, but it involves betrayal, a long-held secret, and a sacrifice that highlights the profound depths of love and loyalty in a world seemingly devoid of such emotions.
Classic Morgan, right?
Yeah.
Throwing in a curveball that changes the entire game.
Exactly. The ending is satisfying, yet bittersweet. Justice is served, but not without a cost. Lives are lost, scars remain, and the world is irrevocably altered.
And what about Takeshi? Where does he end up after all this?
Yeah. The final scene shows him leaving Bay City, embarking on a new adventure. It leaves you with a sense of hope, suggesting that even in this bleak and complex world, change, growth, and even redemption are possible.
So Altered Carbon isn't just a thrilling cyberpunk story. It's a reflection on who we are, the choices we make, and the enduring power of human connection, even in the face of dehumanizing technology.
It challenges our notions of identity, mortality, and the ethical boundaries we're willing to cross. As technology advances, it's a story that stays with you long after you finish the last page.
If you haven't read Altered Carbon yet, we highly recommend adding it to your reading list. It's an experience you won't forget. And if this deep dive intrigued you, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth explorations of thought-provoking books. You can find a purchase link for Altered Carbon in the episode description. Every purchase helps support the creation of content like this. Until next time, keep those minds sharp and those pages turning.